My name is Jake. I work as a lawyer at one of the country's leading law firms. I handle multiple major corporate clients, specializing in acquisitions, partnerships, and strategic mergers between companies. Though I am now thriving as a top lawyer, my youth was shrouded in darkness. When I was in my second year of high school, my father was involved in an accident and passed away. Our family consisted of my father, mother, older brother, and me. My mother was a part-time worker, and my brother had just started his second year working. Though my mother worked part-time, our main source of income was my father, so his loss left us in financial hardship. Ideally, life insurance should have been paid out, but due to the circumstances surrounding my father's death, approval was delayed. My father worked for a local construction company. At a construction site, he was a site manager when he was crushed by falling equipment. Not only my father, but also several employees and part-time workers were involved, making the accident major news. The public loudly criticized my father's irresponsibility as a manager, stirring up all kinds of rumors. The cause of the accident was improper stacking of equipment. Due to the carelessly stacked items losing balance, they collapsed at the slightest disturbance. A careless job allowed by a careless manager. My father's reputation plummeted. When the equipment was being stacked, my father was on leave, visiting his parents who lived far away. Thus, he neither gave the instructions nor performed the checks himself. However, newspapers and news reports didn't mention this. The accident occurred and the manager was my father, Michael. This fact was coldly reported. It was enough to fuel discussions on social media. In no time, my father's supposed misdeeds became public knowledge and spread worldwide. Fortunately, the company acknowledged that my father was not at fault for the accident. They also negotiated with the life insurance company, ensuring the life insurance payout was made. We received some sort of condolence money from the company, so we weren't immediately in dire straits, but we still had a 30-year mortgage on our house to pay. No matter how much the company affirmed that my father was not responsible, once information spreads, it doesn't disappear. People have been saying that guy from that family. I heard he even received condolence money despite causing the accident. It's audacious, isn't it? Hurting so many people and then baseless slander spread throughout the town, and my mother lost her part-time job. I know it's not Amelia's fault, but you know, the neighbors, there are people talking. I'm really sorry. After nearly 10 years, my mother was abruptly let go from her part-time job, and the shock made her bedridden from stress. I'm sorry, Jake. I can't fight anymore. It was frustrating. Neither my father nor my mother did anything wrong. Yet, why did we have to suffer this much? My father lost his life protecting his employees. He was a man of strong principles until the end. In that moment, he probably didn't have the luxury to think about what would happen to himself, let alone his family. A danger was approaching my subordinates. I have to help. That must have been the sole thought driving his actions. My father was that kind of person. It was when I was in kindergarten. Our family went camping. Excited for my first camping trip, I wanted to play in the river just like the other kids. But my father, who had experience with the Boy Scouts, knew the dangers of rivers and absolutely forbade it. Everyone else is playing. Ignoring my pleas, he taught me how to arrange stones for a campfire and how to tie knots that would never come undone. Why am I the only one? I was envious of the laughter of children playing nearby. During such a moment, an elementary school student playing in the river started drowning. A child is drowning. Hearing that, my father dropped the stones he was holding and dashed towards the river. It all happened so fast, I was confused. Stop, darling. My mother's desperate cry still echoes in my ears. Amidst the commotion around the river, my father plunged into the water with a splash and chased after the drowning child. The river had shallow areas, but there seemed to be spots where the current picked up speed, and it appeared that the elementary school student got caught in the flow. He was being swept away further and further. "Hannon there, I'm coming to save you." My father wasn't particularly good at swimming. Despite being taken by the river's current several times, he desperately caught up to the child and grabbed him. My father, lifting the child to the shore, looked heroic. He was like a superhero from a show. "That's amazing." I joined the people around in praising my father. The rescued child's parents kept thanking him, crying, "Thank you, thank you." I was proud of my father, who was being thanked. My brother also looked pleased, puffing out his chest with pride. Only my mother's face was tense. Back at the campsite, when it was just our family, my mother said, "Why did you do something so dangerous? The kid was being swept away. It's only natural to help, right? It's not our child. What if something had happened to you? How are we supposed to live? Even if it's someone else's child, that child is precious to them. I couldn't just overlook it." Indeed, as my father said, even a stranger's child is someone's treasure. Lives are what must be protected first. But my father was not a rescuer. He was just a site supervisor at a construction company. It would be unacceptable for his life to be lost as a result of rushing to help with a heart full of justice. If something like that happened, we wouldn't know where to direct our anger and would be utterly lost. As a child, I didn't understand why my mother was angry, but now I do. The absence of my father threatened our present so intensely, painfully, and heartbreakingly that my mother's cry was painful. We weren't allowed to wallow in our sorrow and had to endure baseless, heartless words. I was infuriated by the coldness and irresponsibility of the public's quick judgment. I was angry, but I couldn't do anything. I could no longer go to school. My high school life was anything but flashy. Being on the quiet side, I spent my breaks reading at my desk, and after school, it was study time in the library. Not part of any club, I didn't go out with friends like others did. Quiet and reserved, I didn't have friends. The only person who actively talked to me was probably Olivia. Olivia wasn't conspicuous, but her gentle, soft expression was charming, making her a popular figure in class like an idol. For some reason, Olivia took an interest in me. "Jake, what are you reading? Tender is the Night? Is it by F. Scott Fitzgerald?" "Yeah." "Jake, you like his books." "I don't particularly like him, but it's not that I don't." "Really? I actually like The Great Gatsby." "You like the dark stuff." "Hey, it isn't dark, it's a comedy." I had never met anyone who interpreted that novel as a comedy before. Olivia is unique. "Do you not read books by contemporary authors, Jake?" "I've read some fantasy stories involving other worlds." "Oh, I love those kinds of stories too." "Have you seen that show?" Olivia would chat innocently like this, observed from a distance by male students. On each of their faces was an unspoken thought. Why is she talking to him? It was amusing. The expressions on the female students watching these boys were aflame with jealousy, as if Olivia was trying to get attention from the boys. Being at the center of it all made me uncomfortable. But Olivia was so innocent, without malice, genuinely enjoying our conversation. So, I decided to enjoy my time with her as well. However, there are always those who envy others, unable to lead us to our cheerful conversation. They should just ignore us, as we're not harming anyone. Emily doesn't like Olivia. Despite Emily being the most beautiful and smart, capable of reigning as the queen of not just the class but the entire school, for some reason, Olivia is the most popular. Emily can't stand it. But she can't attack Olivia directly. That would cost her the popularity of not just the boys but also the girls. Emily, fitting the word cunning perfectly, targets me, Olivia's friend. "Olivia, why bother with Jake? Just leave that drab and shabby guy alone. I may be plain, but I'm not as shabby as she says. While not wealthy, my family maintains a decent standard of living. My lack of fashion sense is merely due to my own lack of interest. I've never been interested in fashion, and even if I were, my catastrophic lack of fashion sense would leave me struggling with contemporary styles. Since my grades are consistently at the top of my class, Emily probably felt she could only attack my plain personality and attire. Being a part-time model, Emily was particular about fashion. How can you have such a lack of fashion sense, even if you're not wealthy? It's beyond tacky, it's vulgar. Emily, that's harsh. Hey, since you're a model, why don't you give Jake some advice? Why should I have to take care of someone like Jake? I might catch his vulgarity. The classmates chuckled at Emily's remarks, though their laughter seemed forced. My relationship with my classmates wasn't bad. Since I was slightly better at studying, I would help with homework and test scopes, offering study advice. Our relationship wasn't severed by hatred. While we weren't friends, we had a decent interactions as classmates. Emily isn't satisfied unless she's the queen. She always needs to look down on someone to affirm her superiority. Who would be her target? Among the classmates wary of becoming the next target, I was the only one who remained aloof. Perhaps that's what irked her. No matter how much Emily ridiculed me, I didn't care. I've never been interested in others, and if me being the target could save my classmates, then so be it. It wasn't about trying to earn favors. It was just too bothersome. Fighting back would only play into Emily's hands. There was no need to give her the satisfaction. So, I let her say what she wanted. But I couldn't forgive what was said about my father. Your dad, I heard he seriously injured one of his subordinates. What a terrible father. You should apologize on his behalf. My dad did nothing wrong, and he's not terrible. Stop saying irresponsible things. Who's being irresponsible here? Your dad was in charge, right? Then it's only natural he should take responsibility. Everyone knows, don't they, that it's your dad's fault. The classmates couldn't affirm or deny it. They just looked down, waiting for the storm to pass. Normally, I wouldn't care, but this time, I really hoped someone would speak up. Among my classmates, there were those whose family members worked at the same place as my father. They should have been told the true story. I wished for someone to restore my father's honor. I was looking around hopefully, but everyone averted their eyes from me. I was devastated. I hadn't really been expecting much, but even so, I no longer wanted to be in the same place as those who wouldn't utter a single word in defense, not at this juncture. Due to financial reasons, I decided to drop out of high school. My mother and brother tried to persuade me to at least finish high school. We can afford to send you to school. Dad's life insurance was paid out. At least graduate from high school, please. You don't have to worry about money. I'm earning a salary too. You're much smarter than me, so go to college. I can earn enough for your tuition. Please, continue your education. I wanted to go to college too. There was so much I wanted to learn, and I wanted to read various books and become a writer if possible. But I didn't care anymore. I was grateful for my mother and brother's feelings, but I no longer had a reason to attend high school. Dropping out of high school doesn't prevent one from becoming a writer. Perhaps having faced setbacks might even help me write better books. I could use this frustration as material for my stories. I chose to drop out of high school and start working. Fortunately, Mr. Smith, the president of my father's company, heard about me and offered me a job as a part-timer. Your father was a great asset to the company, saving his colleagues. It's truly regrettable that the wrong story has spread about him. I'm sorry for what has happened. It may not be much of an apology, but would you consider working for us? We can hire you as a full-time employee right away, so could you start as a part-timer? It was an offer I couldn't refuse. Part-time is fine with me. Thank you very much. From that day, I started working at the company where my father used to work, as a part-timer. I worked furiously every day. To shake off the frustration in my heart, I moved my body and worked until I was utterly exhausted. The work available to a high school dropout part-timer like me was mostly menial. Moving things from one place to another. Even that was a new experience for me, and there was much to learn. Everyone at the workplace was kind, treating me like a younger brother, a son, or a grandson. No one spoke ill of my father. "You're Michael's son. You resemble him in your sincerity. Michael, you know, he was the first to help us when we were in trouble, just like a hero. He often bragged about you. My sons are much better than me," he'd say with such a happy smile. In the cafeteria, the break room, the restroom, people from various places would talk to me. Hearing stories about my father that I didn't know was refreshing. Michael really helped us out. It's such a shame how he passed away. Some employees even teared up saying this. My father truly lived here, loved by everyone. I was happy to learn this fact. I wanted to repay the kindness of those who loved my father. I learned the work from the staff, desperate to be of some use. Mr. Smith always kept an eye on me. He must have been observing my work all this time. One day, Mr. Smith came to me and said, "Jake, do you like studying?" "Yes, I do." "Do you want to learn more? If there's an opportunity." "I see, I thought so. Actually, Charlotte from the HR department told me you were reading a book on labor law. Are you interested in law?" "Yes. In fact, the other day when I was working overtime, Charlotte told me it was a violation of labor regulations, so I couldn't continue. I didn't understand what that meant, so I borrowed a book from her." "Did you understand it then?" "Partially." Mr. Smith fell into thought for a moment. Had I done something unnecessary? Should a part-timer like me not be interested in labor laws? As I stood there anxiously, Mr. Smith spoke up. "How about it, Jake? Would you like to go to college and study law? I can't cover everything, but I can pay for some of the tuition." I was taken aback by the sudden offer. What was he suggesting? "Mr. Smith, I dropped out of high school. There's no way I can go to college." "What about attending a community college? I'll cover the costs, of course." "Wait, why would Mr. Smith cover the costs? We caused a lot of trouble for Jake and your family because of the situation with your father. You were subjected to unfounded slander and must have suffered a lot. We should have spoken up more loudly to correct the mistake. I failed to make that effort, and I truly apologize. I know an apology now doesn't change much, but I want to help you, or rather, let me help you." Moved by Mr. Smith's sincere request, I felt touched. "Mr. Smith, we've received enough apologies, and I'm already working here. That's enough for me." "No, it's not enough. You have potential. It would be a waste for you to not use your talents here. How about it? Why not aim to become a lawyer?" That proposal took me by surprise, leaving me nearly speechless. "It seems you're interested in law, and we could use a reliable in-house lawyer. But becoming a lawyer isn't that simple. I know. Our current lawyer has been doing a great job for us so far. He's getting on in years, though, and we'll need to find a successor eventually. What do you think? Can you become a lawyer by the time we need to find a replacement?" What a reckless idea. Despite knowing it was audacious, I was thrilled. Because my dream at the time was to become a lawyer. I had experienced the coldness and ugliness of the world through my father's situation. People who casually infringe on human rights and spread slander. The only way to counter them is with law. Law is the ally of those crying out for help. In times of tragedy like my family's, I wanted to be someone who could stand by them, support them with the law, and fight back. The wounds of the heart are deeper and more painful than physical injuries. To protect human rights and honor, which should be equal and fair, The power of law is effective. As a lawyer, I could protect people from undeserved suffering. I was grateful for Mr. Smith's offer. Though I had many conflicting emotions, I decided to rely on Mr. Smith's kindness. "Mr. Smith, thank you. I would like to pursue higher education. Could I just ask for permission to attend community college and for the entrance fee? Not just the entrance fee, I'll pay for all your tuition." "No, I must decline. I appreciate your sentiment, but I can't be that reliant. My father would be angry. I'll earn my tuition myself." "How will you do that?" "There was an ad for a newspaper delivery job, so I was thinking of doing that." "Then you should work at our construction site. We're short on traffic control staff on weekend and holidays. It should pay better than a paper route." "Thank you so much." With the warm support from those around me and Mr. Smith's assistance, I was able to go to college and continue my studies. I studied fiercely every day. While others were busy with clubs, parties, and social gatherings, I focused solely on my studies. I studied and worked. I had neither the time nor the financial freedom to play. My goal was to pass the bar exam and become a lawyer as soon as possible. That's where my journey of giving back would begin. I couldn't get into law school, so I had to start with the preliminary bar examination. The path was long and the study material extensive, but I managed to pass on my second attempt. Having finally become a lawyer, I was introduced by Ben to a law firm in another state. This firm specialized in corporate cases, so it was expected to be a valuable learning experience. The idea was to learn and bring that experience back to the company. I was on it. The office, bustling with major corporate clients, kept me, a rookie lawyer, constantly on my toes. I'm not sure if they saw potential in me or just needed a handy helper, but I was assigned to work with the ace lawyer. George, the ace, was incredibly skilled and known as a lawyer who never lost. His methods were thorough, not shying away from bold tactics to secure victory. He always clinched victory without letting emotions get in the way. While his methods were controversial, he was undoubtedly a figure worthy of respect. Though I was often pulled in all directions, I learned a great deal from him. I won't take such extreme measures like him, though there were aspects that served as a cautionary example. After 5 years of learning under him, I finally returned to my hometown. That's when I received an invitation to a high school reunion. Wondering why I was invited despite having left school early, I still felt a sense of nostalgia. With my return home decided, I thought, why not attend? Either time had softened my feelings, or I had become more forgiving. So, despite the unpleasant experiences, I decided to go. It was the day of the reunion. The venue was a restaurant near the station. It had a stylish and somewhat upscale ambience. I saw familiar faces here and there, evoking strong nostalgia. Having left school early under such circumstances back then, I wondered how I should present myself upon entering. As I hesitated, a male voice called out, "Is that Jake?" "Jake, wow, it's been so long. Man, it's been ages. Jake, what have you been up to?" To my surprise, my classmates greeted me warmly, filled with nostalgia. Olivia was there too. "Jake, long time no see. How have you been?" "Yeah, I've been good. You seem well too, Olivia." "Thanks to you. Are you still reading?" "Yeah, but I still can see The Great Gatsby as a comedy." "Jake, you're still the same, but it's rare to see you at a reunion. Is this your first time?" It was indeed rare, considering I had left high school early and shouldn't have been on the invitation list. Reunions were something completely unrelated to me. Yet, this time I was invited. Right, I ran into Emily that day and she invited me to the reunion. That's how the invitation ended up at my parents' house. "Well, if it isn't Jake, you actually came," Emily approached with a sly smile. Upon returning to my hometown, I left my job and took a short vacation. I thought it was a good opportunity to rest my overly busy body, especially since there was also moving work to be done. Since I was moving back to my parents' house, there wasn't much to pack. 2 weeks of vacation felt almost too long. When I visited my father's former company, Mr. Smith, who had aged a bit, warmly welcomed me back. "You've really become quite impressive. From now on, I'm counting on you as our legal advisor. Mr. Smith has really been good to me. I'll start repaying his kindness little by little. I'm looking forward to it." Even though I was on vacation, I had nothing particular to do, so I decided to work part-time for just a week. Mr. Smith suggested office work, but since I didn't want to get rusty, I chose to work on a construction site. Physical work feels good, but it makes me sweat a lot and get dirty. I used to go to the site in a crumpled shirt and worn-out jeans. Emily saw me like this and called out to me. "Is that you, Jake? Still dressed like a poor man, I see. Heading to the arcade this early. It's shameful at your age. Some people never change their lowly ways." I happened to run into her right in front of arcade, where I had stopped to make a work-related call. Emily probably thought I was coming out of the arcade, seeing me in my crumpled and sunburned state. "You must be in some dead-end job, right? After dropping out of high school, I'm working at a top tire company now, you know. I'm a manager. You used to be so smart, but look how far behind you've fallen from someone elite like me." I didn't feel like engaging, but I couldn't just ignore her. "You seem well, still as beautiful as ever." "Stop it, that's disgusting. I don't want compliments from someone like you." It's not like I wanted to praise you just for the sake of it. I had no other choice, given that there was nothing else to talk about. "By the way, there's a reunion this Sunday. You should come." I dropped out, so I don't think I belong at a reunion. "I'm the organizer, and I'm saying it's fine. It's at 1 p.m. at a restaurant called Milfy near the station. The fee is $100. But can you afford that?" "Yay, that's fine. At least wear a shirt that isn't wrinkled. Don't embarrass me." She probably wanted to show off my shabby appearance and make a mockery of me. Despite knowing Emily's intentions, the desire to see everyone after so long won over. And so, I found myself going to the reunion venue. Dressed properly for once, huh? Let me guess, is that suit rented? It doesn't suit you at all. She immediately threw a jab, but I chose to ignore it gracefully. "Thank you for inviting me. It's great to see everyone after such a long time." Acting all gentlemanly, "You're just a day laborer. Did you know? This guy wanders around during the day, playing games, dressed in a worn-out shirt and filthy jeans. I hate poor people. They'll dirty the restaurant." Her brazen behavior was off-putting to everyone around. Without regard for the atmosphere, Emily continued to belittle me. Then, suddenly, "Hey, you. The woman over there. Yes, you." A group of unsavory-looking men barged in. "You, Emily. We've got business with you." Apparently, they were there for Emily. "What do you want? I don't know you people. We've got a lively one here. Your husband borrowed money from us. Gonna pay us back. Debt. I know nothing about that. Why would my husband borrow money? We're rich. We wouldn't borrow from the likes of you. Hey, this is the IOU. Settle your husband's debt." Emily was entangled with the pursuers, causing a commotion in the restaurant. "Hey, guys, shall I call the police?" Go ahead and try. We're just here to collect what we owed." My classmates were intimidated by their menacing presence. The women were trembling with fear. It seems that Emily's husband had taken out a loan and hadn't repaid it, but it clearly wasn't a legitimate loan. It must be from loan sharks. No choice, I had to step in. "Can you all keep it down? And who might you be?" I pulled out my attorney badge from my pocket and pinned it to my chest. The sunflower of justice and freedom, and the scales of fairness and equality, represent the ideal image of a lawyer. To those involved in shady business, this badge must be familiar. I could see them getting intimidated. Emily, at what interest rate did your husband borrow the money? What's it to you? I told you I don't know. Don't be stubborn. Tell the truth. Startled by my firm tone, Emily jerked and turned pale. 23%. That's completely illegal. You're not obligated to repay. Hey, you. Who do you think you are, saying whatever you want? The borrowed money must be repaid. Please, lower your voice. This is extortion. Such language and behavior are also illegal. Shall we go to the police right now? Don't get cocky, you hear me? There are many witnesses here. Plus, this place has several security cameras installed. Look, there and there. Everything you're doing is being recorded, making it solid evidence. What will you do? Continue, or is it wiser to leave? Damn it, let's go. Intimidated by my presence, the men left. What just happened? Emily seemed unable to comprehend the situation. The classmates around us were also stunned. Actually, I'm a lawyer now. I was working at Davis Law Firm until recently. I've returned to work here. Davis Law Firm, the one that deals with big corporations. It appears there's someone among my classmates who's familiar with law firms. Is that a big deal? That firm gathers only elites. I've heard that only the top few % of lawyers can get in. How come? You, a high school dropout, are a lawyer. Weren't you an unemployed pauper? With no other choice, I shared my story with everyone. After dropping out of high school, I went to community college and then to university. I majored in law at university and graduated as valedictorian. I passed the bar exam on my second attempt and became a lawyer. After 5 years of training, I returned as an exclusive legal advisor to repay the company that had helped me. Well, Jake, you've really made something of yourself. Did you become a lawyer because of what happened to your dad? Yes, that's right. We were really awful to Jake, even though we knew his dad wasn't to blame. I know sorry isn't enough, but I'm truly sorry. I knew Jake was suffering and I didn't do anything to help. I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. All those experiences helped me become a lawyer. If you ever have trouble, just let me know. For starters, Emily, how about I help you with your issue? Gone was her bravado. Emily was now sitting dejectedly. Please, help me, she replied in almost a whisper. Back then, I resented everything around me. The misunderstanding that led to our family's downfall was compounded by the judgmental looks from others. Frustration, pain, impotence, and irritation consumed me, but in hindsight, those hardships. They made me a lawyer who understands people's pain. They say nothing in life is meaningless. Thinking about the meaning behind my father's passing still pains me, but if it was a factor that contributed to who I am today, then it's a cruel yet powerful force that has shaped me. Perhaps Emily, with her haughty and arrogant demeanor, also has insurmountable emotional barriers. It's not too late, even now. In fact, now might be the perfect time for us to talk and understand each other. Maybe she's just an unpleasant person. But that's okay. Interacting with such individuals can also be a learning experience, nourishing the person I am. An encounter with someone can lead to bonds that last multiple lifetimes. We spent our childhoods together, my peers and I. I'm not sure if we can be called friends, but we certainly shared the same moments in time. In the long journey of life ahead, who knows when we might share time together again. So, I choose to reach out rather than sever ties. Life will likely be much more enjoyable and free that way. If there's a reunion next year, maybe I'll attend. Hopefully, by then, I'll understand the meaning of comedy that Olivia talks about.